The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. From an unusually rainy Denver, Colorado, I'm Kevin Geiger, the Vice President of Business Development here at EverCommerce. And welcome to our second part of the Prevail webinar series, Homeowner Insights, Building the Modern Remodeling Experience. We're going to dive right in. If anyone joins as we're continuing on, we'll just let them add themselves into the process here. I know our first segment in the series last week was a great success with Misha Fisher, DS Barents, and our own Tim Mush as well. Hopefully this group here, we can maintain that level of excellence today, fingers crossed. I also have my second screen up here, so if you see me looking up like that, I'm just trying to glance at Grant and Ryan's beautiful faces up there that I can see every once in a while. So I'm gonna go over a few things, housekeeping items before we get started. Everybody but our panelists here will be kept in listen-only mode during the duration of the webinar. We're going to have a portion of time at the end of the webinar to answer any questions. And if you could do me a favor and please type any of the questions you might have in the question function, which is on my screen on the right-hand sidebar in the GoToWebinar sidebar. And lastly, the webinar is going to be recorded and will be sent out next week. And so I've already told you that I'm Kevin Geiger from EverCommerce, and just a little bit about EverCommerce really quickly. We're a private equity backed portfolio technology company providing best in class service commerce solutions to over 617,000 SMBs worldwide, small and medium businesses. Our integrated business management, payment acceptance, marketing technology, and customer engagement solutions help service-based businesses accelerate their growth, streamline operations, and increase retention. And we do play very heavily in the home and field services space with approximately 21 of our solutions in that vertical. I'm going to take a second now, and I'm proud to introduce our two subject matter experts today. Firstly, we have Grant Farnsworth. Grant is the president of the Farnsworth Group. Imagine that, Grant Farnsworth, president of the Farnsworth Group. I love that. His organization conducts custom research exclusively for the building products, home improvement, and lawn and ranch industries by providing strategic insights that help organizations better understand their customer, product, brand, and overall market. For over 20 years, I don't believe it, he looks so young, Grant has consulted on qualitative and quantitative research for a variety of manufacturers, retailers, and associations, ranging from Fortune 100 firms to startups. Thanks for joining us, Grant.
Thanks for having us, Kevin.
Absolutely. And it says also here that you are a longtime drummer. I did not know that. Who's your favorite drummer?
Oh boy, who's the favorite drummer? I mean, I think, outside of John Bonham and some of the classics, I don't know, Max Roach is pretty good.
I would agree with that, but I think Ryan and I would probably say Neil Peart from Rush, considering we're Canadian, right? So
overrated.
I'm going to now take the second to introduce my really good friend, Ryan Shantz up there. Ryan is the CEO of Sumo Quote, also currently a partner with Epic Roofing and Exteriors, a roofing company with over 170 employees out of Calgary, and formerly the sales manager at Epic Roofing. As sales manager at Epic Roofing, Ryan developed a quoting tool, Sumo Quote, that his team used to increase their sales by over 63%. This technology was redeveloped into what we know as Sumo Quote, which has helped thousands of contractors increase their win rates and close jobs at higher margins. In his role as CEO of Sumo Quote, Ryan works with top roofing companies across the US to craft innovative and dynamic proposals. These proposals help them stand out from the competition, provide an experience to a homeowner unlike anything else in the industry. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today, Kevin.
Absolutely. You're up in Calgary, so it's what, noon there?
It is noon here, yeah. So
great.
I'm skipping lunch just to be on this today.
See, it's all you do is give. That's all you do. I love it.
Right. You know
I do. I've known Ryan for a while here, and he is a giver, that's for sure. So I wanted to talk about really quickly some of our event sponsors, because without them, the Prevail webinar series really wouldn't happen. So first, let's hit on MarketSharp, industry-specific CRM for contractors, remodelers, and home improvement professionals, used to centralize your leads, customer, and job information. We have Angie, who's also one of our sponsors, helps to increase your exposure to millions of homeowners looking to find local contractors. And my friend DS Berenson LLP, is made up of attorneys that specialize in the unique issues that affect remodeling and home improvement businesses. And Guild Quality, North America's best home builders, remodelers, contractors, and home service companies rely on Guild Quality's customer satisfaction surveying and performance reporting to help them monitor and improve their quality of work. All right, so Grant is first up, and he's going to be giving us an in-depth look at the homeowner behaviors and expectations, including graphs, metrics, insight, and more graphs, right, Grant?
Graphs, great. Look, you have a researcher on the panel, so be prepared to see some charts.
I'm excited. I like this. Why don't you take it away, Grant?
Awesome. And just see if I've got control here. Looks like I do. Excellent. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the contractor behaviors around their buying, where they're getting information, some of the challenges that homeowners are experiencing. I think it's important to understand the level of education that's been happening on the homeowner side of our industry over the last several years. You may not think they're knowledgeable, but they do. So that we have to be very, very mindful as contractors, manufacturers, and suppliers that homeowners are now feeling that they almost have an equal seat at the table when it comes to discussions around product and where to buy, how to buy, et cetera. So we'll look at some of those behaviors, and then we'll look specifically at some research that we conducted in conjunction with our partners over at the Home Improvement Research Institute to look at that homeowner and contractor relationship. Why are contractors or why are homeowners using a contractor? What's going well in that relationship? Where is there room maybe for improvement from the contractor side to really meet those expectations that homeowners have? Okay, so first let's start with some of the maybe the challenges and behaviors that homeowners are experiencing themselves. Keep in mind that roughly 80% of all homeowners are some level of DIY, light, moderate, or heavy. So that may be yard work, it may be painting a room, it may be general home maintenance, but they are at some point throughout the year probably doing some work on their home themselves. So they've got exposure into the home improvement building product space, maybe not to the degree obviously the contractors do, but they are shopping, they are navigating the challenges that are presented with a lot of contractors today, availability being one of them. So this is something that homeowners understand as well. We know as contractors and pros that this has been a huge, huge challenge for productivity over the last year and a half, 2 years. Homeowners have felt it as well. In fact, well over 50% have experienced some sort of availability issues, and those that do are finding solutions to them. They're finding different suppliers, they're finding different products, et cetera. So, as contractors are faced with this challenge, so are homeowners. There is an understanding there when you think about what you're communicating and how you're communicating to homeowners. They get this availability piece. Delays. Homeowners, even when they're doing their own projects, they're also experiencing delays. So again, I think there's a lot that homeowners can relate to when we think about contractor activity, and this is why we want to highlight it. They're not in the dark, and if you as a contractor you said, sorry, we're a week behind because we've got some availability or cost challenges that are causing a delay in your project, the majority of homeowners are going to say, yeah, I get it, I understand, I've been there too. Okay, certainly it's more frequent experiencing issues for availability, more frequent experiencing issues because of cost for those younger generations than older generations. But by and large, you've got about half of the homeowner DIY market that have experienced project delays due to availability or material costs. And I will tell you that as you all probably know, this cost issue over the last few months as we've been tracking it is becoming more and more severe both amongst contractors and homeowners. So be prepared. We'll talk about this later, but my gosh, be prepared. If you're not already having budget discussions and pricing discussions, it's going to start fast and furious before you know it. So what about media? So where are homeowners, where are DIYers getting their information? How are they becoming knowledgeable? This also gives us an insight into where we can position our brand, our product, our company to get in front of those homeowners that may be looking to do their own project and convert them into hiring out. So first and foremost, they are online. Obviously, the younger the generation, the more online research they're doing when it comes to home improvement projects and products. They are going in large part to home improvement stores like Lowe's.com, HomeDepot.com, et cetera. Obviously, Google for everybody. But Amazon has become a really big source as well for homeowners, oftentimes to look at reviews of products. So you as a contractor may be recommending a particular brand. You better believe that homeowner is more than likely to go online and look at reviews of that brand or do a comparison of 2 or 3 brands, 2 or 3 products that you may be recommending for a project. Amazon has become one of those sources for reviews and product information. Same with manufacturer websites. The big takeaway here is there's no one magic bullet. Homeowners are jumping around to gather information. They've got everything at their disposal these days, the same way that a contractor or other trade might. So they're oftentimes going to a supplier site and the manufacturer site, and then maybe getting some review information from Amazon. Kind of this whole collective is really working in tandem for homeowners today to build their education base.
Hey, Grant, quick question. Do you think that, I've always, personally, I've always believed with my 30 years in the home services space that the contractor is the conduit to the product for the consumer. Do you think that's shifting a little bit? And is there, in the end, is the contractor usually the biggest influencer in that decision?
Contractor still, so Kevin, I'm going to tell you, it's going to vary by category, right? So as we think about roofing versus finished plumbing, right, faucets and shower heads, there's going to be a different level of involvement and knowledge base with the homeowner. It may be a color discussion, and Ryan, you can jump in here on the roofing piece. If we're talking about roofing and shingles, it may just be, well, here's the color I want, but I have no knowledge about the underlayments. I have really no knowledge about GAF versus certainty. But when it comes to here's the faucet options, hold on, Mr. or Mrs. Contractor, I know what look I want. Here's what you need to achieve. Go find something to do it. Ryan, I don't know if you're seeing the same thing in your business when it comes to the homeowner engagement at almost sometimes the commodity level.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I frame it, right? Like shingles to a degree are a commodity, and if you're going to try and position yourself as, well, I'm using Atlas, well, so might the 5 guys right behind you be using it as well. So you better have a lot more than just that to be able to lean on with it. And yeah, for the most part, for homeowners, you can educate them and try and help them understand why you're using a specific shingle, but it's colored. Like that's the big part that they're looking at with it. And to be honest, you ask 50% of homeowners wouldn't even know what color the roof currently is because they just don't put that there a lot of the time, right? So
that's right. That's right. Totally different discussion though, Kevin, when you get into a kitchen remodel.
For
totally
sure.
Different.
Absolutely. That's an inspirational and aspirational purchase. That's something where, they don't call the kitchen the heart of the home for no reason. And and a roof a shingle, there's something to be said there. I agree.
Right. But overall, Kevin, I would say that the level of homeowner knowledge, their perceived knowledge has increased. The level of homeowner engagement has increased really kind of across the board. And we'll touch on this here in a little bit, but I think there's an importance for contractors these days to be walking more in tandem with the homeowner than to be telling the homeowner what to do every step of the way. Yeah, contractors still looked at as that expert. However, the homeowner still wants to be a part of that process in many, many cases.
Thank you.
Okay. Want to talk about social, and this is important because I think it is a window for contractors, for manufacturers, for suppliers to begin accessing and leveraging exposure amongst homeowners. The blue lines mark those that have it just for personal use. And as you might expect, Gen Y, Gen X are certainly using social much more than boomers, just even for personal kind of across the board. The orange are those social platforms that are used for building product home improvement research. And what we have are a lot of younger generations using YouTube for how-tos. And we're actually seeing a spike over the last couple of years amongst pros in their use of YouTube for some how-tos and instructional installation, etc. So this YouTube thing is not only a place to be able to gain access and visibility, but it's also one more tool that's allowing the homeowner to feel that much more educated. Hey, I just looked up 3 videos on roofing installation. Are you guys going to be using this and doing it this way? Because I now know, I've seen it done, right? So be mindful that the homeowners are engaging in these platforms and they're able to see in a lot of cases from real professionals actually doing installs, quick tutorials on what to do and what not to do. Facebook is still a highly used a platform as well. And I think this is where we see a lot of contractors and homeowners connecting, using Facebook almost as a portfolio. Same thing with Pinterest, Instagram, much more visual oriented. So as you think about the kitchen remodels and those more aesthetic oriented categories and products, that's where we start going more towards the Pinterest and Instagram for inspiration for those homeowners. Create a lookbook for me, or I found this is what I want. Again, this level of education is increasing amongst homeowners, and these are some of the platforms they're using. Okay. Preferred method of contact, and this I think is really, really critical. And this is really for manufacturers or suppliers, but it also works for contractors. There's this dichotomy between the younger generations and older. The younger the generation, the more likely they want to receive information via social media. You can see 30% of Gen Y wanting to prefer to receive via social versus only 7% of boomers. 43% of Gen Y prefer mobile and apps versus only 7% of boomers. So think about your customer base, and are you able to adjust your communication mediums depending on their preferences? You may be an email only firm. You may be a phone only or an in-person only firm. Well, what happens when those new 35-year-old home buyers are looking to gut their entire house and they just want texts twice a day? Are you set up to be able to do that? Do you recognize the difference in how folks want to communicate throughout their project? Last thing on behavior-wise, we're going to touch on some of this channel use. And again, this is just to give us a little bit of an insight, I think, to how our world has changed over the last 10 years or so in regards to suppliers in our industry. There was a time where especially suppliers were almost contractor only and home centers were DIY only, right? Depot and Lowe's were just for the weekend warriors trying to figure some stuff out themselves. That has changed. We have more contractors today using home centers for a variety of categories, and now we're starting to see homeowners and DIYers use some of those specialty suppliers, lumberyards, Ferguson, et cetera, that might have been exclusive to contractors, Sherwin-Williams, Ben Moore, all that good stuff. So there's much more of a blend and crossover with pros and DIYers using similar channels right now. In fact, over the last couple of years, roughly 20% each year of DIYers have tried a new supplier, because they want to find a specific product in stock. They're looking for better prices. They want to find different options. So again, here goes this kind of mix of worlds where we're seeing homeowners not only become more educated, but they're starting to understand that supply chain a little bit more as well, that the contractors traditionally held very, very close to their chest. And contractors are oftentimes buying from a world that's very, very familiar from a DIYer, from Depot or Lowe's.
Are the consumers going back to, are they doing most of this purchasing online, or are they actually going into brick and mortar?
Yeah, great question. So that's what this slide is here. So all the blue is at a physical store in person, right? If you look at it by age, though, there's a big discrepancy. So Gen Y are buying anywhere from 30 to 60% of their home improvement products online. Okay, so there is an expectation and an opportunity, I think, for contractors to be able to buy some stuff online and have it delivered directly to the homeowner, have the homeowner make the order and have it delivered to the job site, whatever the case may be, particularly for those that are younger generations.
Ryan, do contractors do that with big box retailers? Do they ever do that, or is it mainly their, do you find yourself still going through distribution mainly?
It's going to depend on the trade, right? So roofing is the side that I'm most familiar with, and on the roofing side, they'll look at some of it online. You certainly have a lot of people signing based off of emails, PDFs, stuff that they're looking at online, but you still have, like, whether it's kitchen table or showrooms where people like to come in and touch the shingle and look at it and all that stuff, but it tends to be more via the contractor there specifically. Painting, I would imagine, you know, they're often going into paint shops and grabbing swatches and all that stuff, right? So it just depends on the trade.
Category is going to drive it. A lot of the higher price point, more durable goods, we're seeing a lot of online activity for those where they can kind of price shop around, right? And things that have more options. So again, kind of going to the fashion plumbing, fashion electrical are oftentimes more prone to be online purchases. Depot only has 100 faucets in store, but they've got about 10,000 online. So very category driven, Ryan, you're right. So now let's talk specifically about some feedback that some homeowners have around contractors and the engagement and relationship of homeowners versus contractors. First and foremost, this is a monthly study that we do. We've got data that's as recent as this month. Just the overall sentiment that homeowners are feeling right now about, is this a good time or bad time to remodel my home? And we've seen this slight increase to neutrality and almost negativity towards doing a remodel project right now. So as we look at consumer confidence, as we look at builder confidence, and even some contractor confidence, we see this running the same. There's just this sentiment of things are getting really expensive. It's hard to get a hold of things. Labor's very tight. Timelines are built out. So homeowners are maybe going to be a little bit more hesitant in current months to take on a remodeling project. So be mindful of that. You're going to want to understand what their barriers to entry are so you can remove those right away, because I think they are increasing just slightly. Is this a good time or bad time to hire a contractor? Same thing. We're seeing it more and more. Homeowners say, you know, I'm either neutral or probably a little bit of a bad time to be hiring a contractor. And when we ask why, again, a lot of this is starting to come up around budget and price point. It's going to cost me too much. It's getting too expensive. So take those questions head on. Ryan, you're about to say something.
Well, I was curious, like, do you have any data on financing and how many people are holding on to their cash and using financing versus because of this, right, to address this exact thing?
Yeah, we do have some data around that. So the good news is that you know, financing isn't a requirement for most homeowners. In fact, we are at a stronger equity position, at least in the U.S. We have more equity in our homes in this country than we ever have before, ever.
Yep.
Billions and billions of dollars. The problem is, Ryan, what happens is people get skittish when they see rates going up and when they see their home values plateauing. There's just a little bit of a mental reset and a withdrawal from feeling comfortable and confident spending money on my home. I think that may be temporary until people get comfortable with it, but when are things just going to level off and stabilize to allow people to regain comfort?
Do you think that is going? I was last week. I saw that Fitch had increased their inflation rate forecast from like 4.95% to 7% by the end of the year, and then the Fed calling out that there could be, you know, anywhere from 5 to 7 rate hikes in that same period of time. As those occur systematically within those systems, do you think that that's going to affect these numbers that we're seeing here and that skittishness that you mentioned?
Absolutely. So we always see there's two things that happen. One is real, where actual demand is removed because rates go up too high. That's more on the home buying side. But home buying is important to our world because we see more activity when someone sells a home and when someone buys a home. So as we remove demand and potential customers from the home buying market, that is one thing that is a result of these rates going up. Affordability goes down, and therefore we actually do remove potential customers from the home buying market. The other thing that happens is more of a head game. And Kevin, we've seen this for years and years and years and years and years. Whenever rates go up, whenever there's some sort of volatility, whether it's political, economic, whatever the case may be, people just kind of they take a beat. Oh man, I don't know. I want to see what's going to happen before I drop, 100 gur in my house. Is the world burning, or are we going to be okay? And so some of that is mental and it's just temporary. There is a true remove of customer demand because of that affordability piece. So be very, very mindful of this as you all look at your business and look at your specific markets. Really, I would say start paying close attention to home values. How are home values trending in your market?
Well, if you're in Denver and probably in Calgary, they are trending like a hockey stick. I'll tell you right now.
And they're forecasted to level off towards the end of this year and into next. And in some markets, maybe even a couple point decline. And if you start seeing declines, even though it's 2%, and despite the fact that they've gained 30% over the last 2 years,
right? It's
that mental head game of, oh no, my home value is going down. I don't know that I want to touch that much of my equity. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Okay. What are the reasons they do hire pros? The pros can do a better job, right? So we've looked at data previously that says, why do you do work? If you do it yourself, it's because I enjoy doing the work. There's a big reason to hire a pro because they acknowledge I can't do a good enough job. So that's the main reason, or the work requires a licensed professional, et cetera. Why did you complete it yourself? It's cheaper. Certainly I enjoy the work, but this cost piece, it's going to save me money. So you better believe that homeowners are starting to think more and more around budgets. And what's the most important thing when you select a contractor? Be on time, have a fair price, and do good work. And tell me what's going on along the way. This really hasn't changed too much over the years as we track it, okay? But this be on time thing starts to gain importance in busy markets like we're in now, where more and more contractors don't return calls, don't even show up. I'm sure it's no one listening to this webinar, but the reality is in busy times, contractors start getting a real negative perception. It's like dealing with a car salesman. I'm dreading trying to find a contractor. No one calls me. I mean, there's a lot of negative perceptions that come in busy markets with low labor.
I guess it's a question for both you gentlemen is, obviously that is a direct correlation to the labor shortage that exists within the market as we speak, right? Like I can't get to this person because I can't get to the job I'm on already. And it's a combination probably of that labor shortage, maybe some supply chain issues and so forth.
100%.
Yeah.
There's so many things going on, but I think we've seen this before in I mean, this just happened again, 10, 15 years ago. I mean, this is a constant cycle of ebbs and flows of activity in our world. And the contractors don't respond. I'm too busy. I just blow off those that I don't want and But then I'm, 2 years later, 3 years later, I need work. Well, if only you would have maintained that relationship and been cordial with that person that really wanted you to do some work 3 years ago, you might have some good leads to be calling on today.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting. Like I guess the first thing I saw when I looked at this list, if you go back one there, Grant, was the first two. It's exactly what you said on selecting a contractor. It's that point of sale, right? It's that how is the homeowner determining that? But the two that popped out to me right away were just below that, communication and cleanliness. At least from the roofing side, at the end of a job, you will never hear a homeowner say, oh, that job was too expensive, because they don't care. They've already agreed to the price. They don't care at that point, right? The only two things they ever complain about are communication and cleanliness. That's it, right? So it's so interesting because I think there's some post-production in there as well, as far as the entire experience. But those popped out at me right away because those are always the two that I'll mention on the post-production experience.
Great points, Ryan. Well, let's look at some of that stuff. So here's some of the project timelines. So how are we doing on project timeline kind of overall? Yeah, pretty good. We still have about 40% that are saying, it's so, could be better. But now let's look at some of the communication stuff. I think this is the biggest piece historically that we see when there is conflict. It is almost always around communication. And yeah, you've got about half saying, I agree that the communication and these are all homeowners that have recently hired a pro to complete a project. You've only got half that are saying, the communication was good. Which means you got the entire other half saying, it was bad.
Yeah.
Communication can be everything. And I think a lot of it has to do with just tell me what's going on. Again, we looked at data previously in today's webinar that says the homeowner has experienced availability issues themselves. Homeowners have experienced cost issues themselves, so they get it. If you just tell them and communicate with them regularly that says, hey, I'm sorry we're 3 days delayed. I can't get the product from my supplier, it's not in stock. A homeowner's probably gonna go, oh yeah, again, I get it. I've been there, I've done that. Thanks for letting me know, rather than not saying anything for a week. Transparency and communication over the last 2 years with our manufacturing clients, with our supplier clients, has been paramount. Don't dodge any difficult conversations. Hit it head on and hit it quickly.
I guess the manufacturers are having those conversations with their customers, which would be through distribution and through the Ryans of the world. Obviously, they're having those conversations as well, and communication is paramount for them too. So that funnels down.
The good ones, yes, Kevin. The good ones have dealt with availability and cost issues transparently and regularly from day one, and they've seen some of them have actually seen an increase in share, and they've certainly retained their customers. There have been other manufacturers and suppliers that are dodging that conversation or don't have any knowledge. They're losing customers left and right. I'm okay if if the product's gonna be 2 weeks late, that's okay. I just need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll finish up here real quick because I think I'm a little bit over time.
You're doing well. You're okay.
It is really important, really interesting that we've seen over the last few years, particularly with younger generations. It's this involvement with contractors, not just in picking products, but actually like doing some of the work here and there. We see more Gen Y and Gen X saying that they want to be involved in every step of the project throughout the process. And then the shared work idea. So I split some of the work with the pros. Again, more common amongst millennials and some Gen Xers than the boomers. What are you doing as a firm, as a contractor, to allow this level of engagement? It's a real fascinating phenomenon. I think, again, it's being elevated because they feel empowered by the education that they've gathered along the way. They want to be a part of it. I think a lot of it too is also, this is, they're taking a lot of sense of ownership and pride and individuality of their home. They want to be engaged and involved in that process because it's very personal to them. So I would challenge, the listeners and a lot of contractors out there to think about the process and what can you do to allow homeowners in a little bit more. I think that's only going to further and solidify the relationship that you have going forward. So those are my takeaways. Sorry for running over, Kevin.
Oh, you're fine, Grant. And Ryan, I guess you're going to have to allow homeowners up on the roof now and do things like that.
Hey, as long as they rope off and use no problem.
We have one quick question. I know it's going to save it to the end, but it's applicable right now. And it's over here. It's from Natasha, and she's asking, I guess it would be Grant and Ryan, you could give some anecdotal information, or if you know, do you know if the data that you're presenting, Grant, is similar in Canada?
Most often, yes. The differences in Canada that we see are typically on the channel side. So supplier use and the types of suppliers used are different for the homeowners, but attitudinally, the way they think about projects and the relationship with contractors is very similar. Our firm, just so you guys are aware, first of all, we only do building products, home improvement research, and we focus exclusively in the US and Canada. So it's very similar attitudinally.
Yeah, and I'm going to default to Grant on this. Like, he's got the actual data, so I don't think I can contribute much there, but I would assume everything seems correct with that from my side.
Awesome. And everybody, just follow Natasha's lead here and make sure you type your questions into that question functionality there. I'm going to hit on a few more of our very generous sponsors again. Pay Simple is all-in-one payment acceptance, billing, and customer management platform designed for the service-based business with flexible payment and billing options. Pay Simple has helped over 17,000 businesses streamline their operations and improve cash flow. And then Socius Marketing, home improvement marketing experts creating custom digital strategies to ensure that homeowners will find your business. Hatch, helping contractors grow revenue by instantly engaging new leads over text, email, and phone. From one collaborative inbox, sales teams set more appointments and automatically follow up with leads. And our buddy here, Ryan, Sumo Quote, thanks for being one of our sponsors, Ryan, makes it easy for contractors to build professional quotes that stand out and close more deals. Easily build custom quotes in minutes, and we're going to see more about that. And then last but not least, and I'm going to get into a few of our other sponsors later, but the Farnsworth Group, and I talked about them earlier, helping building material manufacturers and supplier improve brand, product, customer, and market strategies with custom research and over 30 years of industry expertise. And we just saw Grant show us that. That was awesome. Thank you very much, Grant, for those insights. I wanted to take a second now also and mention to everybody on this on the webinar that there are additional events coming up that maybe you should be interested in and looking at. Up on this slide right now, we have the inaugural Fast Remodeler Live put on by our friends over at Qualified Remodeler, Patrick O'Toole and Paul DeGrandis. We all know those guys. It's in Baltimore at the beginning of May, and it's focusing on technology in the home services space. And then LeadCon 2022 in Columbus, Ohio, put on by Tony Hody and his crew at the end of May. And in mid-June, we have Rick Rosso's growth seminar for owners, and that's happening in Arlington, Virginia. If you have any interest in any of these events, you can email our own Tim Mush. I think his email's up there on the screen too, for any discounted tickets that can help you get in there. And I'm super excited about that inaugural Fast Remodeler Live program that they're going to be showing up in Baltimore, the Qualified Remodeler folks. All right, now we're going to do a little bit of audience participation if you can help me out here. The first poll that's going to pop up is going to ask you which of the events that I just mentioned would you like more information on? And if we'll give you like 5 seconds here, take a quick look. I don't know, I don't have any music that I can kick on. Ryan, do you sing at all? No?
I don't, not that you want to hear anyways.
That's fair enough. Right, let's move to the second poll now. In the second poll, which of the sponsor services that we've mentioned would you like to learn more about? There we go. We're talking about an actual segment of the industry. So we have CRM tools, lead generation, and web strategies, payments, roof measurement and estimate, as well as our friends at DS Berenson's services, legal services. All right, let's move on and let's get to Ryan. And Ryan's going to give us some insights on crafting a modern sales experience. And Ryan, the stage is all yours. Let's do this.
That's great. I appreciate it. So as Kevin mentioned at the beginning, besides being the CEO of Sumo Quote, I'm also one of the partners of Epic Roofing Exteriors up in Canada here. So I'll talk more on the roofing side just because that's my experience with things. But I'm just waiting to see. Okay, there we go. So I started kind of more or less obsessing over this whole modern sales experience probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Our roofing company had been in the fortunate position of becoming the largest residential roofing contractor in our province up here in Canada. So we were never interested in being the cheapest, but we had to compete with all sorts of people out there. So we're trying to figure out how do we set ourselves apart? How do we show the homeowner and give them a different type of experience at that point of sale to show them that they're going to get a different experience with us the whole way through. They can trust us more. They're likely going to get a much better result with us than another contractor. And so I started thinking about this concept of a unique type of sales experience. And it was interesting. One of the things, there was a story, it was around Christmas. It was first week of December. This is about 5 years ago. And I just remember every night of the week, our doorbell was ringing. And that had just never happened before. Like, it was this weird trigger of, oh, this is different, right? Why is my doorbell ringing all the time? And of course, it's first week of December, and it's Amazon or whoever delivering all of our Black Friday shopping because Christmas is coming up. And literally the year before, we had done almost no shopping online, but we had this change in buying behavior. And I mean, all this stuff, I'm going to give the anecdotal and hopefully some practical stuff, but I love the data that Grant had bringing into this, because it's really the proof is there, right? And I started thinking about, the opportunity that we had as a roofing contractor. And I say opportunity because to a degree, homeowners' buying expectations have changed so much and other industries have gotten so far ahead of us that there's still massive opportunity in front of us as contractors of unrealized change that we can get to, right? So I think of something like my bank. I can't remember the last time I've been in a physical bank. Why would I ever go there, right? If you get this paper check thing still, you can take a picture of it with an app and it's in your account, and like there's no reason anymore. I mean, I think of grocery shopping. I've got 3 young boys at home. Why would I spend an hour going through a grocery store lugging 3 young boys through there? It makes no sense at all when I can just order it online, drive up, and they walk it out to my car, drop it in, and I drive away. Like, all of these other industries have created these modern sales experiences and have gotten so far in front of us as contractors. And the tools are out there now. These things are available. I think quickly of like a Hatch and how easy it is on that communication side. They're out there to make it easier, and yet as contractors, we've been slower to adopt. And so that's why I think something like this is so exciting to go through. So when I'm talking about a modern sales experience, really I'm kind of, and this is my thinking on this, customer experience is kind of the big buzzword out there. I've heard it described as the new marketing battleground. That's the big, customer experience. It's not product because, again, often in the trades, a shingle is a shingle is a shingle, paint color is paint color, right? Like you can kind of get it all over the place. It ends up being about customer experience. And so there's an awareness component of that, of how a homeowner engages with you digitally or in another fashion out there. And then from that, they come in as an opportunity to you as a contractor. And now you've got this sales experience that you can provide for them. And then ultimately, you need to prove that sales experience out through the production experience. And it kind of goes through this cycle again, right? And so, yes, customer experience is this big one. I'm going to try and focus specifically on this part of the customer experience called sales experience, and go through how we can think about this in a bit of a different way. But to do this, I'm going to start off and Grant, Kevin, I'll ask both of you guys here. You know, it's a small poll, it's a small audience, but do either of you guys own a Traeger smoker?
I do. I live in a condominium. I own a condo, so I think that's against condominium rules.
Okay.
Know what they are, but have yet to get one.
I know what it is. We're giving one away next week at an event, so I know it's a big, like round, like black thing that smokes meat. Is that
Oh,
correct?
dude, it's awesome. Like I can pull my app out, I can check the temperature of the meat, I can control the temperature, I can set it super smoke low. Like there's everything that I can do with this thing. So I got a Traeger at Christmas. I'm not gonna say it changed my life, but it almost changed my, like it's a whole lifestyle you have to buy into. But I mean, it's a phenomenal brand and people will pay a premium for it and it's all of this stuff, right? But I'm going to lean into another side of this is when I bought my Traeger, the first thing I did was I went on Amazon because I thought, what do I need to really kind of pimp this thing out, to really go to the next level of, you know, now that I'm buying into this lifestyle, what is everything else I need with this? And so I went on Amazon as we do, whether it's a Traeger or whatever else we buy. But the reason I want to go through this Amazon example is I just think Amazon has probably the most dialed in sales experience out there. And it's why they've got the most valuable brand in the world right now, right? So when I look at this page, these are the things that my eye goes to from what is Amazon providing me here that makes it easier for me to buy or want to buy or provides me the content and the information I want to kind of push me over the edge, right? And so right away I look at pictures and I'm going through pictures on there. You know, I can see I can add it to the cart or buy now quickly, free delivery. I can have this thing at my house tomorrow if I want it, right? Like reviews, Grant talked about it, it was perfect, right? People are going to Amazon to consider reviews and compare product against product and be able to go through this stuff. So they're taking all of these components, and I want contractors out there to be thinking about how these components could fit into your sales experience as a contractor, right? As I go through this page, it's interesting because, you know, I go through and I continue to walk through my buyer's journey here. I love that they are giving more information, but the first thing they do is they do it in layman's terms, right? What does this do? It protects your hands. And then they get into this additional content of, oh, you know, it's past EN 407 certification. Like they don't dumb it down for you. But as a contractor, when you're sharing this stuff, make sure your homeowner understands it first. And then you can get into this other content. And it's important because it does position you as an expert, and you don't want them thinking that you're shying away from providing this information to them, right? So now this is interesting as I've gone down to sort of the very bottom of the page. So you think about a user, I don't know how many times you guys have hit the bottom of an Amazon page, but it doesn't, right? It doesn't happen often, right? So if you've got somebody at this stage, they are highly, highly interested in buying. And what I love here is you get to the stage and Amazon's already upselling me on other stuff. And as a contractor, we make it easy to sell upgrades and to buy additional components or better products with this and stuff, right? How easy do we make this stuff in the sales experience? I also love the thinking is, well, what's holding a homeowner from pulling the trigger? Why aren't they buying yet, right? They've gotten all the way to the bottom. They're obviously highly engaged. I love that they put the reviews there again, right? Maybe they don't quite trust it enough. Let's drop the reviews in here again, even though it was at the top of the page, right? And this is one that I hadn't caught until I was kind of prepping for this webinar, but you see right at the very bottom there, would you like to tell us about a lower price? And to me as a buyer, that implies if there's a lower price out there, we know about it. So you can trust us that you're getting a great price on this right now. Like there's all of these components, it's so thoughtfully done. And obviously that's why they're so valuable out there. But this is the type of thinking for contractors that we want to start thinking about. So this is where from this buying experience, I kind of want to go through and analyze and think a little bit about, as contractors, how can we create this type of an experience, right? Or what are the components of this? So design, content, functionality, I'll touch on all three of these. I won't linger on them for too long, but there's lots of interesting meat here as a contractor for us to think about. So the first is user experience. Kevin, before I got into technology, I had no clue what UX was.
Right.
So, right? So it's something sort of where you would expect it to be. And that picture on the right kind of hurts my head in looking at it. Like it is so painful in trying to think about how this is supposed to work or what's going on with this, right?
That's what the elevator push buttons look to me at after a couple days at the International Builders Show.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, I had when we first were testing out this whole concept of really beautifully designed quotes or proposals, I'd given a quote to a property manager. It was about an hour and a half north of town here, so it was a little ways away, but it was a multifamily building, full roof, partial siding, partial metals, so sort of typical hailstorm hits it, and you're fixing everything that had been damaged on it, right? Anyways, I went through, I gave her this proposal, and 3 days later, I gave her a call, said, hey, just want to check in. Obviously, we'd love to work with you. Wanted to see what you thought of the quote we sent over. And she said, well, we got a quote from our local contractor here as well. Your quote was $237,000. His quote was $207,000. We love this guy. We use him all the time. She said, but for this project, I'd really like to work with you. So, feel free to change your price if you want, but either way, I'm going to push hard to the board that we should work with your company. And I said, oh, that's great, but why do you want to work with us? We're 15% more, and you're raving about this other contractor. And she said, oh, man, I know it shouldn't matter, but that quote you gave me was just awesome. Like, I had a question, I turned the page, there was the answer. I just know I put those two quotes in front of the board, and they're going to be like, well, obviously we should work with this one. They're the more professional option. And so it's that whole concept of, can you create this narrative or this story? Like, can you make it easy to track? And it is something where you expect it to be. And if you're just giving a one page with your brand on it and you throw a price on there, you're not really utilizing your ability to create a strong user experience through this, right? As I'm going through this, I'll show you guys through a few sort of images of Sumo Quote pages, right? So for a contractor, this is where we want to have this well-designed cover page where the client's house is on there, but it's easy to find your contact details and all this. And, for our authorization page, we've got a good, better, best. So we kind of give these package options, but you've got all of your signing selections on a single page, right? What package do you want? What upgrades do you want? It's easy to see and understand and fill in all this content. You're not filling in something on one page, another thing on 3 pages later. So just making sure when you're creating this type of buying experience that you're being very thoughtful with all these little details, or you're using software that has put that thought into it for you.
I had an HVAC guy over a few months ago, and I had that good, better, best experience too. And putting it into my hands to determine sort of what direction do I want to go with their guidance. So yeah, absolutely. Not only in the roofing and exterior space, but certainly in the trades as well.
Absolutely, yeah. User interface side, I love this one. So 2 bottles of 7-Up, and they did a taste test, right? Slightly yellower bottle on the right, exact same soda in both bottle. But Homeowners, their taste testers, swear that the drink coming out of the bottle on the right tastes more lemony, right? It's this interesting thing that we can taste design, right? Like, it visually conveys trust. There's all sorts of things that design does. And so again, you're working now with buyers that are having different buying experiences from all of these other industries, and we really need to make sure that we're bringing our game up and we're considering a very the effect that a beautifully designed quote proposal presentation has on a homeowner, and that we're engaging them in this type of way as we go through this stuff. So for this, let me go through. For this, it's sort of that, when you're making it visual, this was an interesting one for me. I read a stat the other day, written content versus visual content. And think about how we consume content these days online and everything, and how quickly we go through it. But visual content is comprehended up to 10 times faster and retained up to 10 times longer. And so this is an actual, this is a house that I was on. This was a hailstorm back in 2016, and trying to explain that there was a dead spot behind the chimney to this homeowner, and how we're gonna, build a cricket in there to correctly, like, how would she understand it, let alone how would she communicate it to her spouse later on, right? But you provide something that's very visual, very easy to understand, and how we consume that content. This stuff is very powerful in that design and what we do with it, right?
I'm in the world of this all the time, and I wouldn't have known it unless you drew it like you did on the bottom as well. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So and it just, again, it fits with how people are in the market out there these days. So I'm going to touch on some of our content, some of the content that you want to include. This is an interesting one. By the way, have either of you guys read the book Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller?
I have not.
Popular book in some of the circles that we work with.
I have not. So
Yeah,
but I will now.
It is fascinating. Grant, your 2 cents on it?
I think it's useful. It's been a few years since I was referred to the book and read through it, but I mean, I think it's a good approach to looking at your business and how you communicate with the marketplace on a different level.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'll take people sort of through a little bit of that. This whole, like, touching on this slide here, the whole concept of what's the balance of these things and what's the most important to homeowner. I think as a contractor, our tendency is to think that it's knowing the problem and knowing a solution, right? We're a contractor. That's what we're going to lead with. And yet homeowners, first and foremost, it's, do you know me? Do you understand what I'm going through? Let's say it was a homeowner that they're looking for, new siding on their property, and let's say they've got a daughter that's getting married in 2 weeks. Well, they don't care about price, and they don't care about this and that. All they care about is, can you get this job done in the next 10 days? That is it. Like, so making sure you understand that person and can go through that. This is one of those big reasons why that picture on the front cover of the homeowner's house is so powerful. Donald Miller walks through with Story Brand, this whole concept of story and understanding our role as a business compared to the person that we're interacting and engaging with, the buyer on it, right? And what I love with this is he does this comparison talking about Tommy Boy versus Star Wars, and basically saying this is the same story. And it's like, Tommy Boy, it's, we're talking about a character, the hero of the story, and it doesn't matter if it's, Chris Farley or Luke Skywalker. It's somebody that, they're struggling, right? They don't know the powers of the force, or their dad just died and left them this company, right? They've got this problem that they're going through, and they meet a guide who understands that and is able to demonstrate both empathy and authority. And that's where that empathy comes in, to be able to connect with the homeowner, and then the authority to be able to address the problem, go through that stuff. As contractors, we so often miss the empathy side of things. And yet, if we can create something that conveys trust, that connects with the homeowner and says, you are the hero of this story, right? There's all of these little details that we can get caught up in that we miss. But when we can automate this stuff and make this easy and interesting and powerful, where we make the story about the homeowner in these little subtle ways, it changes how homeowners feel through the whole experience. And that's really what we're trying to get at the end of the day, is how do we emotionally connect with them? Because we don't want to make it about just fighting on product, that we've got a better product than the next guy, or price, that we're a lower price than the next guy. And so we've got to come in with this other type of strategy or way of connecting with them. So
I would certainly propose that genuine empathy leads to a much higher degree of trust from a consumer. That's for sure. At least I feel that way as a consumer as well. So.
Well, the interesting thing is how it doesn't always have to be human to human anymore, how you can automate this stuff through some of the technologies out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're listening to, you're trying to solve for that problem and be empathetic at the same time.
So again, I'm going to go back to Hatch and be like, well, this is great. You just took away a massive pain. And Grant talked about earlier on communication being one of those big things. Can it be, what's the speed of communication and for a contractor to be able to engage with me and everything else? And so, yeah, there's these obvious tools that are out there that when integrated into your tech stack or how you function with your business can have really powerful results as you go through this, right?
Absolutely. So Ryan, we've got about 4 or 5 minutes left. So
no problem. So I'm going to go through just quickly on some of this stuff here, but that content side of, you don't need to dumb it down. Just because you're being empathetic doesn't mean you need to be stupid, right? So don't fear giving good information, technical information to them. Make sure that you've got that available for your homeowner or as well. Pricing, we've talked about this. We talked about financing a little bit earlier, but make it easy to buy with that pricing side. Give them options, whether it's good, better, best, which Kevin talked about, or upgrades. I love selling upgrades using financing because when you're selling a better shingle and it's an extra $12 a month, not $2,000, that's a totally different conversation, right? Yeah, there's some really interesting things as contractors there that we can start to think about how buyers are connecting with pricing out there. Even the whole subscription model, there's lots of interesting things around that stuff, how consumers are thinking about that stuff. And then putting in some points of social proof. We talked about reviews and how heavily buyers lean on reviews. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't go out for dinner without checking the reviews of a restaurant. And that's on a $80 meal. You know what I mean? Like let alone getting into buying, buying a $15,000 roof or whatever it is. And we all know how critical it is on your website, and everybody's doing it with Google reviews and stuff like that. But to integrate that, again, that social proof into directly when the homeowner's making that buying decision, that can be a powerful thing as well to be able to incorporate in there.
I've been to dinner with Ryan a couple times. I can attest that he does do that for sure. I'm pretty sure that he may have even looked for reviews on me as a dinner companion. I'm not sure, but we'll see.
They're hard to find, but they're out there. So
they're out there. Just got to dig deep.
Yeah. Well, again, make it easy to buy. The nice thing is this is a win for both the homeowner. Like you want to make it really easy to buy for them, but the contractor as well. If you can save that 30-minute drive across town to get that signature. We had with our roofing company, we've had a couple of good hail years up here the last couple of years. And our ability, and this, to a degree, I'll wrap it up with this because this is kind of a good talking point on it, but thinking about your tech stack in general and technology in general and how this stuff can be automated, it's powerful the effect can have on that. In the roofing space specifically, they used to talk about $1 million producers, right? Oh man, that guy sold $1 million last year. With technology, that can exponentially grow if you set it up in strong, convenient ways, and you can nail this trust. You can automate, right? You can help to automate trust through design and convenience and all of these, and ease of signing and selecting upgrades and all this stuff. We had 2 salespeople in our roofing company last year, each sell over $8 million. And the crazy part with that is they didn't have a job over $70,000. They weren't signing $2 million multifamily jobs and stuff. Like these are high volumes of, their average jobs were 20,000, 20,000 to 30,000. But I mean, that's what technology and putting these tools together in a really thoughtful way and resourcing your team well, that's the powerful effect you can have layered in with obviously standing out in this type of sales experience type of way. So
they couldn't have done it without the efficiency of the technology that you had put in place as the owner of the company for them.
No, absolutely not. No, and I liked your point earlier about how does the homeowner want to communicate? Is it text? Is it phone? Is it email? Having that, understanding that, having that set up, and being able to say, yeah, I got that arrow in my quiver. I got that one in my quiver. Like giving them the resource to be able, however this sale, whatever direction the sales go, I've got something where I can close it, hit it, nail it, and I can do it quickly, efficiently, powerfully, and keep going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think I had, again, there was a last slide here on make it easy to share, but this was kind of one of those ones for let a homeowner easily share it with their spouse, let multiple buyers be able to see it, connect with it, share the information, etc. But yeah, that's this whole concept of a modern sales experience. It's going to get bigger and bigger. Grant's got all of the proof of the data on why, proving that it works. And hopefully there was a few kind of little practical or thoughtful things on my side of things here to make it, to get people's minds going on why they should think or invest more in this stuff as they keep going.
Absolutely, Ryan, because data sits there and we can tell that this is the data, but when you hear it, that when it's put in practice, and this is what we're feeling in the real world, and I'm not saying data is not the real world, Grant, but when you're seeing on the front lines, I think it gives heed to both sides of that coin. I think it really does. Quick question. We had a few questions. I'm gonna have to get to those later because we are going a little over here, but maybe to both of you. Can you give me a brand out there that you guys believe is also creating an exceptional buying experience, Ryan, real quick?
You know what, I think for contractors, we've got to get ready for more and more is going to happen online. And even from a web engagement type of way, BMW, I think, and just cars in general, how you can go on there, you can click through, you can build a vehicle and have I go through and I would look at 4 or 5 and build 4 or 5 different ones before I buy anything. And that stuff is, I know in Sumo Quote, we're heading in that direction where we're creating these very dynamic, interactive type buying experiences. So I think that'll be a big one for the future.
Absolutely. How about you, Grant? Do you have any thought on that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, we're not an agency, so we're not the ones, putting up the websites and doing all the digital conversions and all that. But I can tell you that in some of the agencies and folks that we work with, GAF in our world has done a really nice job of visualizing things, being able to, build out, projects and see what inventory is and making it all intuitive for the user. I think as far as industries go, oftentimes looking at the fashion industry for kind of maybe what's around, what we're 10 or 15 years behind. Fashion seems to find a way to be able to deliver what customers want in a mean and medium that is just ahead of its time, typically.
I would propose that one of my previous employers way back in the day is right on line with what Grant just said, and that would be Kohler. I think that they have their brand in that fashion space that they are speaking to that customer that they know as well. And then I love, like, for instance, if we were to look at some of our solutions like Guild Quality, they power the contractor locator for the 5-star ratings and so forth for a couple of manufacturers in the roofing space. And I think that gives a very good customer experience too, and makes things easy for them to look at that brand. And where we've talked earlier, where it's a commodity maybe, but once you get that additional customer experience, it becomes even deeper. I'm going to hit on, I really want to thank you, Ryan. That was great. That was awesome. And I really enjoy your presentation and that sales process. I'm going to hit really quickly on 4 more sponsors. We're going to talk about RoofSnap, and I understand everybody probably has to jump, but give me 2 seconds because I have something to say at the end. Provides fast and accurate roofing measurements, compelling reports, and documents. Improve It 360, an enterprise software built for your home improvement business, effortlessly managing customer expectations and public relations, measuring performance, and improve your processes. EverPro, tailored integrated software solutions for field and service home improvement professionals used to streamline day-to-day business operations. And then EverConnect is designed to scale with customers' needs as they shift and change, working with businesses of all sizes, targeting leads that align with their growth strategy. We do have a few other questions, and I can get to those offline and get back to those folks that attended and had questions. Again, Grant, Ryan, I want to thank you for your time today. You guys gave us a lot of great information. To those that are still with us, this is going to be sent out to you via email over the next couple of days, and you guys can enjoy us twice if you want. Anyways, everybody take care. Have a great day. Thanks for attending.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Looks like we were clear.
Great job, guys. I'm going to end it. All right.
Awesome. Thanks.